To talk about how you block yourself from being loved. I have a lot of experience in this personally because I would subconsciously tell myself that I'm only lovable if I'm a certain way and that I have to earn my love. So the way it would show up is a very hyper independent woman where I don't need any man and men are not needed. And I would say, tell to my friends, I'm like, I have really high standards, but I'm really picky. So it's going to be really hard to find someone I really want. Okay. That was me before marriage. That definitely, if you can ask any of my college friends, they can affirm. Um, I just, I just like, I'm just like, yeah, I don't need men. I would say like men are trash anyway. So alhamdulillah, I've shifted from that, and I want to show you if you are someone who is in a situation like that where you feel a little too hyper independent and you feel yourself needing to shut down, cancel, or end it with someone when it gets too serious, too close. This is the problem. So, if you're someone who's like who constantly feel like I don't need anyone, and you're hiding behind perfectionism, right? You're hiding behind this is where I'm at. I have very high standards, and I just, no one's ever going to meet it. That is a way to avoid rejection and abandonment in the future. And it can come off as like I'm just not interested and I don't want them. But especially for people who like get the ick very easily, that's more of a nervous system response, right? It's more of like they do something like they breathe the wrong way and you're like, ew, like why is that happening? I just need to get away from this. Even though they're a normal human being, there's nothing wrong. It's just normal humanness. Yeah, there's a part of you that's like there's a risk of a fear of like if you let that person in, it kind of bursts your fantasy about what you think marriage is first and foremost. And so then you have to deal with a real actual human being. And a real human being has flaws and your brain's like, no, this is not for me. This is probably going to end terribly. Let me just end it now. And so what the brain does is focus on their flaws so it has an excuse to end it and run away. Again, I'm speaking from experience. I know exactly how this goes. Immediately when something got too serious or someone expressed really genuine interest in me that like does feel like a pretty good potential, I would be like, no, this isn't gonna work. And I couldn't even tell you why. It's just like it's just not gonna work. When the truth is I was just really scared. I was scared because I had this image of marriage of like it's gonna be like this real image of marriage is like if they really saw me, it's they're not going to be as impressed. And I also had this image of like I'm probably going to get bored with them and I'm going to leave and I'm going to be a terrible person. That was my main two fears. Interesting thing about avoidance and people who are hyper independent, they're already rejecting themselves. And there's a part of you that already thinks that like, oh, I'm not good enough to be loved anyway, or whatever your sentence is. And so your brain is afraid to confirm that. So it just avoids anything that could potentially confirm that you're actually not good enough to be loved. So it's easier to put up a wall and, so they don't see who you actually are. So these are the women or the men who are very guarded, don't open up, very rigid, very like they approach marriage in a very interview style kind of way because they're so afraid of like actually relaxing and showing who they actually are because then it could risk confirming that your belief about how you're not good enough. And I'm talking about if as things get closer, your the brain's like, no, it's being too close is not safe. It's dangerous. So let's shut down. And because dangerous because they might see those flaws that you really don't like about yourself and that you're already rejecting about yourself. So let's shut down. And that's what happens, right? You shut down, you shut the person down. And I get so many people who come to me telling me they broke up with someone that they know that was an excellent option. Like literally everything was amazing, but then they would like really hyper focus on a couple things that that make them human. And those couple things that they don't like in the other person, by the way, they have that in themselves. but they refuse to look at it. They refuse to accept it within themselves. I'm talking like, I don't know, everything like social skills, awkwardness, cringiness, all the things that we have the ick about other humans. You have that in you, but you're just not willing to accept it and face it about you. Which is why the solution is to take a look, the work is to actually take a look at yourself, your worst flaws that you're rejecting yourself about, and say, I'm a human being that's flawed, and I can still be loved with my flaws. And the problem is no one ever told you that or taught you that. Maybe growing up you didn't, you were maybe growing up you were taught that, your flaws is what makes you a bad person, or you were rejected because this, and you've kind of grew up with this belief of like, this is why you're not good enough to be loved because of your flaws. And so now you just don't even look at it. You avoid it. You shove it down. And so when it comes out in someone else who's comfortably being themselves, you're like, ew, this is not acceptable. Okay. Again, personal experience here. I know even as I was getting to my husband and I would see some things that I would get icked out about, when I faced myself, I was like, oh, wait, I have that thing about me. I have the thing. I would notice sometimes he would like, he would talk a lot, and I'd be like, wait, I was shamed when I was younger. I would be shamed a lot for talking, for just like talking and saying my thoughts. So I would get punished for it. And so yeah, now I shoved that down, that part of me down, and now I'm like, anyone else who does that, it's also an ick. But that was the work I had to do, was accept that about me. And so one of the best ways to kind of work on this pattern is to show vulnerability and to show your brain that it's not dangerous to open up. Because what the brain is kind of preparing for you is like, oh, but what if I open up and what if they kind of like say something back about me that confirms my deepest fears, and then I'm gonna punish myself and say I shouldn't have opened up, and why did I risk even confirming it? It was just better to stay like just closed up and safe, and just it's all my fault, right, for opening up. And what's dangerous is not someone saying something to you, it's more about how you treat yourself when you open up. That's the point. That's the danger part about and the avoidant. They think they're afraid of someone rejecting them, but the truth is they're rejecting themselves, and they're already deciding ahead of time they're going to reject themselves even more if they were to open up. And so that's the pain point. And so when you show your brain that it's okay to open up and it's okay to say the truth and what you're feeling and what you're afraid of, and the other person may or may not, react the way you want, but you kind of show your brain that it's okay to open up. It's safe, and you don't blame yourself, you don't punish yourself. You will feel a lot more safer in terms of your flaws and like having flaws and seeing yourself more as a human being and accepting the parts of you that you feel like are so terribly unlovable. And yes, you might experience rejection, but your work is to make sure you don't punish yourself for opening up and to learn how to, if someone rejects you because of XYZ of whatever you did, whatever you said, that has way more to do with them than you with how lovable you are. And that is truly the work. Like I mean this on a deep level. Like, and I like to share my own experiences because I know people have told me that it helps them a lot. The moment I knew my husband was the one was I was feeling like really disconnected as I was getting to know him. And I know my brain does this thing where it shuts off and like just wants to end things right away. And so this time I made a decision. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be vulnerable and open. I'm just going to tell him the truth and see what happens because I hate this part about me. I can't stand it. So let me see how this goes. And so I told him, I was like, hey, like, I'm feeling this thing. I don't know how to fix it. I feel like I'm broken sometimes, and this is it, right? And then the way he responded was, it's okay, we'll figure it out. And immediately it gave me this idea that like, oh, it's safe to open up. I won't be punished. I'll be okay. And that was what I needed. The goal here is to see where you are already rejecting yourself, where you are shaming yourself, where it feels like Shaitan's really getting to you and telling you how like you literally don't deserve to be loved or anything like that. And so when you see those parts of you, truly, I want you to write it down. What are the things that you think are so unlovable about you that are such a big problem? If you write that down, and I want you to look at that list and think, okay, this is what it's like to be a human being. If I want to be accepted for who I am, including my flaws, and I'm owning it and I'm trying to work on it, and I'm going to learn how to be vulnerable. I'm tired of avoiding and like closing off and like a little hermit. I'm tired of that. So this is how we expand. And especially if you're more on the avoidant, like you just get so overwhelmed and pressure and need to shut things down, your opportunity here is to learn how to decide differently and open up, to expand into the version of you that isn't afraid of being rejected because you know how to have your back and you know that the worst thing that could happen is someone rejects you and that you still will be kind to yourself and that you won't like punish yourself for opening up and you're learning how to be a human being that like learns that knows how to be comfortable in her own skin especially if you're a man, like learning how to say what's really on your mind and to learn how to be more confident in that. So I hope that helps. I try to share my own experiences just in case anyone's going through it. But I see a lot of people ending relationships just because they don't know how to handle this emotional rejection stuff internally. And they don't even realize it. They don't even realize this is happening. It's all a subconscious thing. Um, so if this is something you're going through, you can always book a one-on-one call with me and I can help you. It's just one session will help a lot just to help you see where you're stuck at. And inshallah, we can go from there. All right. I'll see you in the next video. Assalamu alaikum.